Yeah, let me know when it's up so I can open it on my tablet.
Oh, we're up.
Oh, okay.
Hello and welcome to Out of State DMing Podcast. I'm your host, Lux Blackheart, and my current co-host, Bacon. Today,
You, hi. How was it doing?
we are going to finish. Well, finish. We are going to continue our talk about magical shenanigans and how some of the stuff works. As we discussed, like spell results, spell failure, and stuff last episode. So we're going to get into some of the spell effects. Uh, like attacks. Some spells descriptions prefer to attacking, for instance, invisibility is dispelled if you attack anyone or anything while under this effect. All offensive combat actions, even those that don't damage an opponent, such as disarm or bull rush, are considered attacks. Which pretty much means when a spell has something like that, even if you're not doing harm to the target, anything that can be considered a hostile action immediately breaks it. It's not just for invisibility though. It's for like sanctuary too. That's like if you're like I'm gonna go attack you, well you just broke your sanctuary. Not all spells have stuff like that, but when they do, just don't do hostile stuff. Just usually those spells are either about getting out of harm's way or putting yourself in a more advantageous position to cause harm after X amount of time. Uh, Bacon here doesn't have that much experience being invisible, not because he wanted
I
to explain
listen.
it,
I
but
I do heavy stealth, which works just fine for me.
yeah, exactly. Uh, Bonus types. Mini spells give their subjects bonuses to ability scores, armor, attacks, and other attributes. And that's pretty much buff spells. And they come in all shapes and sizes from mage armor, bark skin, bull strength, bear's endurance, divine favor, divine power. It's like there's this huge array of them. And if you focus on them, then that's great. That's awesome because you're literally either taking your magic stuff, which normally you're not that great of a combatant because not a very good base attack, not very good hit points, you can't really wear the heavier armor. Given enough spells, you can go. I'm gonna go run up with the fighter and beat the crap out of this bad guy because I have multiple spells that are increasing my AC, my physical attributes, and making me actually be able to do damage and hit. Which is always funny when the sorcerer or wizard pulls out a sword and starts swinging it, and they're actually good with it. There's also debuffs, so like you can hinder the enemy by giving them similar penalties.
Yes, it's
This
always fun when you increase your AC and decrease the enemies. Going, sit.
trade off. Um, the next thing is bringing back the dead. This
Oh
is
boy, my favorite type of magic.
this is tricky because there is multiple ways to technically do it, but it all depends on what you're trying to overly do. Because when a living creature dies, its soul departs its body, leaving the mortal plane, traveling through the astral plane, and goes to abide on the plane where the creature's deity resides. So it's kind of like going home, but for your soul. If the creature did not worship a deity, the soul departs to the plane corresponding to its alignment. Bringing someone back from the dead means retrieving his or her soul and returning it to his or her body. And there are certain penalties that come into it, like level loss. The passage from life to death and back again is a wrenching journey for a being's soul. Consequently, any creature brought back to life usually loses one level of experience. The character's new experience total is midway between the minimum needed for his or her new reduced level and what is needed for the next one. If a character was first level at the time of death and he or she was brought back, they lose 2 points of constitution instead. And this isn't temporary loss. A lot of people try to treat it as it. No, it's permanent loss. It's gone. So being too
Now,
low level brings back.
my question here would be, and this is going to be for our viewers who are not sure. In a case of the last campaign where I was an undead, now what would be the constitution penalty on somebody who has no constitution?
um, well, if you're undead, you lose your con. I mean, you use your con score. Even though you can still technically have it written there, it just doesn't do anything for you. So normally it's considered a blank slot because it doesn't do anything. It only comes into play is if someone manages to pull off a form of resurrection on you to turn you back from an undead to a living. But there's problems. When a undead creature has resurrection or true resurrection cast upon them, and they fail their saving throw, they're not brought back to life. They're insta killed. So a
Which,
vampire, a lich, a zombie, a ghoul, a wight, if you go resurrect on it, they're not turning back to what they were in real life, which they would get there just normally with resurrection and a true resurrection. There's you're not actually losing a bunch of stuff because there are better versions of that spell. The undead creatures just kind of evaporate. So it's a very effective. I may want you to be back with us in life, but instead I accidentally destroy your physical material playing coil, and your character sods off to go whatever afterlife it's supposed to go into. So it's
with
problematic.
everything, as always, it's at the DM's discretion because very obviously in that campaign, I was not allowed to stay fucking dead.
Yeah, the certain things can someone alter it. Like, for instance, if a god wants your character to come back, the god technically can get it. If he has access to either ninth level spells, because a lot of gods do, but also at the same time, there's a. And I just lost my co host temporarily. Uh, if you give us a moment, we'll be able to fix that. Okay, that has been
We're good.
resolved. It was just a minor glitch. But no, I said gods with access to ninth level spells can use Wish to keep you alive, circumventing resurrection BS because they're like, yeah, I want you alive. Now there's a bundle of gods that actually have the unique power called Alter Reality. That is pretty much like a 10th level wish on crack cocaine because it's literally as long as there's nothing that can actually counteract it, like a more powerful god, or it's not with inside their purview of manipulation, gods can use that ability to go, no, you're not dead. No, that resurrection doesn't destroy you, it just brings you back to life. Or, no, it just doesn't work on you. Is that commonly utilized and used? No, it's either because the DMs don't know about it or they don't care to have the god act on your behest in such a manner. But it technically DM's prerogative can alter, twist, and or switch things just enough to make things not so headache based. Because well, DM's prerogative. Uh, I'm getting messages. Give me one moment. This, if I try to do multiple message things while streaming, it sometimes messes it up. Uh, okay, that's no worries. Don't stress it. Yeah. But like I said, being level one, level loss reverts to con loss instead. So if you don't have the ability to lose the XP, then it's con, which can still do it. Undead that are resurrected don't have to worry about con loss because they're being boned. Uh, so hopefully, if you are turned into undead, you don't have a fellow player that wants to bone you, thinking they're wants to help you, but accidentally bones you. Uh, see what else.
Remember, if you're an undead, make sure you tell your party you're an undead.
Yeah, because
Because the last thing anybody wants to do is be an undead and get smacked with a fucking heal spell.
yeah. I have a story about that. In one of the games I ran, one of the party members, because of what they did, got turned into a vampire, and him and the party monk knew, and they were pretty much keeping a nice lid on it. Um, pretty much traveling with him in the wagon, so sunlight wouldn't kill him or anything like that. And they were quite successful at it until he got eaten by a big dinosaur and then threw up because the dinosaur went, "Oh, what the hell is that in my stomach? I'm just getting rid of it." And then the dinosaur just saw it off, and the party cleric who went, "Okay, he's dead," but he's going, "Oh God, that hurts." Looks at him, goes, "Huh." Passes the knowledge religion check. It's like, "Oh, you got high enough to know that he's some sort of undead." Without hesitation, without thinking, cure critical wounds.
Yeah, oh, that hurt.
Yeah, especially because the character undead failed the saving throw, so he took full damage. Lots of, the dice that rolled for it was quite high, and it was done by a ninth level cleric. So there was a nice +9 up on there on that. So he got like really hurt bad. That nearly put him to 0 hit points. Which for those playing at home, when an undead creature reaches 0 or negative hit points, they're instantly destroyed. So he had like this huge panic attack, and the party actually had to separate the two because the cleric was, "He's undead. We have to kill him." It's like, the entire reason he got eaten was because he jumped in the water to save a drowning party member because they got pulled into the water by a big fish and they couldn't swim, so he jumped in to do it. He took lots of damage because it was running water. You're a bloody vampire, that explains a lot. Yeah. So he pretty much risked just killing himself to save a party member, and your response is he's undead, kill it? Wow, Palorians really are the good guys. Uh, so it things can drastically happen. The only reason you shouldn't tell party members if you're an undead is because you'll know situations like that will happen when a party member instantaneously turns on you. Because that can end, I mean, that can happen. Because party members have a way of doing that. There is no
Prime
way.
example was the case in our last D&D session when when what was it? Half the party was we don't like undead. We're spiders,
Yeah, several.
and I'm
Yeah,
just sitting there going, I'm in danger.
yeah. Because certain races have certain dispositions towards undead. The particular race they were several party members were playing have they really don't like undead and they rather destroy them, but they have a particular hatred for vampires. So entire portion of this campaign was I need to make sure that they feel bad about trying to kill me. Because the moment they go, I'm not going to feel bad about this anymore, they're going to try to kill me. And that one has a bunch of Bane first undead weapons.
Yeah.
It has all the feats to do a bunch of attacks with them. So, yeah. Yeah. I may not be scared of the crits, but when a person's getting at minimum 6 attacks in one turn with 6 Bane first undead weapons, it kind of hurts. A lot. Um, the DR10 would be the only saving grace on all of those, but still, that's 6 attacks. Okay, but somewhat moving on. Preventing revocation. Well, pretty much there is a way for characters to not do it. Because enemies can take steps to make it more difficult for a character to become returned from the dead. Keeping the body prevents others from using Raise Dead or Resurrection to restore it. This thing will restore the slain creature. Casting Trap the Soul prevents any sort of revivification unless the soul is first released. There's also certain spells that if you die to that spell, you cannot be resurrected. And there's also several weapons that consume the soul if you kill them, therefore preventing resurrections. So there's several means to, as players or bad guys, stop people from coming back. There's also revivification against one's own will. Technically, if your character's like, no, I deserve to be in the afterlife. I'm gonna be in the afterlife. I'm gonna enjoy the afterlife. I'm gonna stay here. But then the party goes, nope, we're resurrecting you. You get a will saving throw. You get to fight it. So therefore, if you don't want to come back, you technically don't have to. Like the biggest examples of it's like there's one person I used to play with. He doesn't really play games anymore. His big thing is if his character dies, he's done with the entire campaign. It does not matter if the party has access to true resurrection or wishes. He's like, oh, I'm dead. I'm done with the entire campaign. He's not going to come with a new character, and or if you resurrect him, he doesn't care if his character passes or fails his saving throw. He's still leaving. So in cases like that, know the person if they want to still play that character or not. And if they don't force them to keep playing it. Because now they're either A, going to have the character walk off, B, they're going to walk off, or C, they're going to do something to hinder the campaign and or get the character killed again. Because like, no, I was okay with the character's death. You guys denied me a death I was okay with, so here's my justification. I ruin it for everyone. Because as a player and DM, I've been subject to having that done to people. So, if, like I said, if an individual does not want to come back as that character, well, that have that character come back, it does not matter what the party wants. If they know that, okay, he's going to resist, he's going to fight, don't do it. The only reason you would still do it is if it would be considered metagaming, because then your characters won't know that he's gonna resist it. All they know is he died and we need him back. That's what the characters know. So if the DM permits the party to have the feeling of, oh, he's not gonna come back no matter how hard we try, then do what you're gonna do. But if you have that feeling, just let lying dogs lie. Because that can get emotional and complicated in much itself. Uh, Combining magical effects. This entire section is both complicated, a little diluted, but at the same time extremely simple. Without getting into super huge detail, in the simple spectrum is there's a bunch of different effects that do stack. The only time that you would have to stress something not stacking is if it's the same type of bonus. As in, if you have two people trying to cast Bear's Strength on you, you can only be under the effect of one of them because they are the same bonus. But that bonus stacks with the bonus from other strength-based things like Divine Favor or Divine Power. Those bonuses stack, and they stack with other spells like that. Bless does stack with Guide because they're not the same bonus. So the big thing is look at what the typing is, because there's morale bonuses, luck bonuses, divine bonuses, enchantment bonuses. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily fully list it, so it's up to the DM. So there's just a bundle of things that can stack. You also have to look at is the bonuses going after the same thing. For instance, is this bonus that increases your AC, is it doing it because it's giving you an armor class bonus, or a natural bonus, or a dodge bonus, or is it increasing your dexterity? So it's that's where you have to figure out where the bonuses stack or not. Is same type of bonuses, same slot. So it can get complicated, but like I said, to oversimplify it is you can't stack the same things. And that also goes for mind control things. Because you can technically charm someone and then dominate them. Because those spells, even though they affect the mind, they technically don't do the exact same thing. Because charming them kind of makes them more friendly to you. Dominate them is, you're not going to do what I want. So one makes it easier for the other one to happen, and stuff like that.
Just thinking about dominate. uh, Dominate, great spell. 10 out of 10, recommend it. If you're gonna get it, get all forms of it.
Yeah, if you're gonna go into mental manipulation for controlling individuals, don't half-ass it. Don't go for oh, I'm only gonna have this one. No, do all forms of it, because there's a chance, depending on what you're dealing with, you can use the weaker version to make it easier for the stronger versions to hit. Or it gives you options to go, okay, that's a weak-minded creature, so I'm not going to use my biggest mind spells on it. I'm going to use my lower mind spells on it, because that's going to actually be better because it's a weaker-minded creature. While the stronger creature over here, who has a stronger mental capacity, I need to use the bigger spells on because it's a DC thing, not just an effect thing. So having all forms of it helps out a lot. Especially because Dominate Person does not work on monsters. So if you're dealing with a Fae or a monstrous humanoid, Dominate Person doesn't work on them because they're not humanoids. they're different typing. So you need a dominate monster, or even charm monster. So that's the important, and the difference between those is what it actually effectively works on. Just creature type comes into problem there, not just this can only work on hit creatures of hit die equal to or less than this, or of intelligence no greater than this. A lot of them are based on what's its typing. If it's is it this? If yes, it works. If no, it doesn't. Uh, but then it gets into like the whole this is a non-specific dominate or a non-specific charm or a non-specific control. It's just I'm taking control or dominating a creature because it's not being specific. Uh, when it comes to mental stuff, undead and constructs are probably the biggest op because constructs look at your mental stuff and go, no, I'm just gonna do what I want because you can't control me. Because there is no mind for you to control, even if it's an intelligent one. Because there's a lot of constructs that actually technically have minds, but it's not. They're because of what they are. You cannot affect it. You can't do any mental things with it. But then there is some that actually have affected minds that let those spell things affect them. And if a DM's permitting certain things to happen, don't fight them. DM prerogative. I love it. Undead, on the other hand, you have to use undead specific spells. The only creature type that broad term that you have to use a second hand stuff to try to control them or dominate them are vermin. They look at all forms of mental things and laugh at it and then just go, ha ha ha, I'm going to do bug stuff now. Because they're considered mindless creatures. So unless a DM it's incorporating and or DM prerogative on changing certain things, vermin give no craps. Instantaneous effects. This is important, and a lot of people sometimes mess this up. Instantaneous effects are effects that when you cast a spell, the effect instantaneously happens. Fireball, Burning Hands are some of the big examples of you cast a spell instantaneously, this little dot flies over there and it blows up into a big ball of fire. That's important because that's how long the spell lasts. It's instantaneous. At maximum, because it takes a standard action, you would probably say within 3 seconds the spell of you, 3 seconds of you doing the spell stuff, it goes off. Any spell with a duration isn't instantaneous because it has a duration to it. Whether it be 1 round or hours. It also means instantaneous effects cannot have the duration extended. Theta, the extended Magic Feat, or anything that doubles, increases, or presets the time because it's instantaneous. It doesn't have a duration. It just cast it and done. And when I say there's a lot of players that want to try to circumvent that, I mean it. Because there's been multiple players that go, my fireball does a lot more than that because I'm extending it. It's like, extend doesn't work because it does not work on instantaneous effects. So thank you for casting it at a higher level to have it actually do nothing for the spell. So paying attention to certain little things like that is important. But luckily, Bacon has never given me any of those problems.
But I'm not a problematic child.
Well, I mean, you are, just not in that sense.
It's because I understand the concept of how this all works.
Yeah. And that not being a pain in the ass about stuff that's already a pain in the ass makes it so much funner to have people like that. Okay, our next topics are going to be some spell descriptions, and we're going to start with schools. The school description tells you exactly what school or what school it belongs to, and there are certain particular types of spells that deny other schools, or if you're being a specialist mage, that pretty much means you're better at casting spells of this school, but yet you have prohibited schools, so you can't know spells of certain schools. Doing research beforehand if you're trying to be a specialist is important, because if you don't, you could accidentally pick an entire school of magic that has spells you want, but now you can't cast those spells because, well, it's prohibited. The first school is Adjuration. Adjuration are pretty much protective spells. They create physical or magical barriers, negate magical effects or physical abilities, harm trespassers, or even banish the subject of the spell to another plane of existence. Protection from evil, dispel magic, anti-magic field, and banishment are some of the key spells for aberrations. If one abjuration spell is active within 10 feet of another for 24 hours or more, the magical fields interfere with each other's and create barely visible energy fluctuations. And it's a DC. It drops a DC to find those spells by 4 points. So it's kind of like rogues trying to figure out what spells are affecting an area. There's a good chance that he gets an easier time because there's 2 abjuration spells either touching or overlapping, and again that causes fluctuations in those particular areas. So you can go, there's more than one spell here. Conjuration is the second one, and there's multiple things that fall under conjuration. So it's kind of like a big boy thing. There's spells that are calling, which is pretty much a transports a creature from another plane to the plane you are on. So pretty much summon spells. Creation, which is pretty much a spell that's creating an object or a creature in the plane you are in. It's kind of like golem creation. There are some spells that you manufacture things, they're creation. Healing can fall under conjuration. Pretty much certain divine conjurations heal creatures or even bring them back to life. These include cure spells. There's summoning, and yes, calling is technically a form of summoning, but there's a slight difference. There's a calling a creature transports it to you, granting you one-time ability to turn it to its plane of origin. Although the spell may limit circumstances under which this is possible, creatures who are called actually die when they are killed. They do not disappear and reform as they do through the normal summoning. See below. The duration of the calling spell is instantaneous, which means that the creature called can't be dispelled. So, like, for instance, if you use a spell that's considered calling to conjure a big demon, it's stuck there unless it has the ability of own to go back to its own plane, or if there are certain circumstances where you can send it back, you can. But it's there. While if you use the summon monster spell, you can summon it. It instantaneously manifests there. When it ends or is dispelled, the creature instantaneously sent back. If a summoned creature also goes away if it is killed or if its hit points drop to 0 or lower. If it is not really dead, it just goes back and cannot be summoned for 24 hours. So it's one of those, if you're constantly summoning a monster to help you, if you're trying to keep it to be the same exact one, don't let it die. Because if it dies, you have to wait a full day to summon it back. If you only have like, if you're only prepping the spell like once, then it doesn't really matter because you're only summoning at least once a day anyways. But it's also one of those things that like it can't count as a form of torture. If I'm summoning this specific celestial hound and I don't care if it dies or not, that's gonna it has to listen to you, but it's one of those I'm telling people about you because this is BS. Stop. I am not cannon fodder. There's also teleportation. Uh, and I will admit, Bacon here hasn't really done any actual conjuration magic except for a form of summoning.
We have, if you think about it, Mordecai's, sorry.
That's an Morkanen's magnificent mansion. Or you does you never
Interesting.
you've never cast Morkanen's Conjunction. And the Morkanen's magnificent no, not the mansion. You didn't have the mansion. The cabin you spell you had.
Was Liamon's, what was it? Liamon, I forget what the hell, what the actual name of that is.
Uh,
But that wasn't Mordecai, and Mordecai's Faithful Hound is what was the spell I was using.
that I would have to double check, but that probably counts as summoning. Uh, but like I said, like more
It's just
the hound
landlocked. It's a
and
landlocked summon.
yeah, the hound and that cabin were the only real spells I would say were big conjuration that you actually cast, because you didn't really focus on anything else. You weren't the one doing the teleportation. You didn't really focus on creating things or healing. So
Actually, surprisingly, if you remember, thanks to my prestige class, I did end up focusing a lot on healing there
well, yeah, no, thank you for the
because of
yeah the
huh?
access the access to those domains.
Yes, the access because of my goddess of life.
Gotta love gods that love things being boom. Divinations. That's pretty much it. Scrying or anything like detect thoughts, clairvoyance, and audience. I'm probably spelling that, but I don't care. True seeing and identify. Pretty much spells that reveal things. As divinations, and scrying is remote viewing. You didn't really do much of those except for detect magic. And there is spells that counteract it, like non-detection pretty much makes you immune to divination spells as whole. So it's like, I want to see what alignment you are. Divination, no. I want to see if you have magic. Divination, no. I want to spy on you. Divination, no.
Didn't I say no the first time?
Yeah. Um, Enchantment has a lot of things, like charms, compulsions are the primary things that fall under enchantment, along with some other buffing spells, but sometimes they can fall under things there. Enchantment gets really eh, but the biggest ones are charm spells and compulsion spells, which compulsion is you're compelled to do a single action or a list of actions, and charm kind of makes can turn an enemy into a best friend for the duration of the charm. So it's like, hey, this is an angry orc, which is a humanoid. I cast charm person on it. Now it's my best friend. So as long as I don't do anything that breaks the charm, I have a friend that once this wear off is gonna try to kill me again because he's not really my friend. He's just a fake friend for the moment. Uh, Evocation is pretty self-explanatory. It's mainly a lot of damage spells, which is like magic missile, fireball, lightning bolt. So evocation is primarily begun through violent force. So instead of like, I want to dismiss you or just make you run away, it's I'm going to use extensive damage and you're not going to be there anymore because I'm doing extensive damage. Like a level 10 fireball or lightning bolt, or being level 9 and getting the maximum amount of magic missiles, or taking certain magic feats that double the amount, that increase the amount of magic missiles you can cast. Because there's feats that do that. So Sea Whiz. Then there's illusion magic. It has multiple things. There's pigments, glamours, patterns, phantasms, shadows. Typically, in order to dismiss an illusion, for typical illusions, you have to actually interact with it to some degree. If it's a visual, you can looking at it technically counts, but at the same time, it's if you look at a wall, there's a wall, so there's really no disbelieving the wall, unless you know that hey, there's a secret door here that's supposed to be hidden by something. You're going to think that it's a normal hidden door, which is like you push a level and it opens. Or if you're a magic user, you'll probably go, oh, there's probably an illusion concealing the door frame and stuff, so it actually looks like part of the wall. But typically with illusions like that, you have to physically act with it, which would give you the saving throw to openly dismiss it or not. And then there's also certain actions that can be taken, like if you're shoved into a wall and you automatically fall through it because you're shoved, you can't control yourself, you instantaneously break the illusion because, well, you fell through an illusion. It can be the same for like patterns, pigments, and glamours. Like glamours, like disguise self, you're making yourself look different, like taller, shorter, thinner, fatter, racial features, so you like look more like an elf, even though you're like you want to look like a short elf, even though you're a halfling. So like there's certain things like I want to pat him on the head. Like as you put your hand through part of an illusion to go, oh, why is my hand in your head, but I can still feel the top of your head. So there's certain things that automatically get broken. Audio things and things that are openly trying to touch you for illusions, normally you automatically get the interaction based rule saving throw, so you don't have to worry about trying to interact with it because it's already interacting with you. The better illusions are phantasms. These illusions usually come in form of like phantasmal killer, because that's a save or pretty much take a lot of damage because you believe you're dying. It's an illusion that is so real that you actually get harmed by it. And it's not even fake damage, it's real damage that needs real healing. But it's still classified as a mental effect, but usually the phantasms kinda hurt you a lot. Shadows kind of help conceal. Such illusions can have real effects. Damage dealt by shadow illusion is real. So it's like one of those catch-22s of what's fake versus what's not. I think I'm dying, I think I'm hurt, versus I actually am, despite the fact that that's a mind-affecting effect. And the spell tells you a lot about that, so you don't really have to overly guess it. Necromancy covers multiple spells. Cause fear, animate dead, finger of death. These spells manipulate the power of death, unlife, and life force. Uh, and spells involving undead creatures make up a large portion of it. So a lot of the drain energy spells, or like vampiric touch, or like necromancy spells. Uh, and generally, these are also the if you want to stay a good guy, don't cast those spells unless it's one of those spells that, even though it says necromancy on it, it's a good spell. And when we start getting into the individual spells themselves, then I'll be able to go into deeper detail on this spell here. Even though it has this here, isn't a bad spell because this is the spell we're talking about. The last school is transmutation. This is pretty much um, change the properties of some creatures, things, or conditions. Enlarged person, reduced person, polymorph, or shape changing are transmutation spells. So it's kind of like turning thing A into thing B, and it not being like an illusion or anything like that because they're actually changing. Uh, so that's pretty simple. Boom. Uh, there's more descriptions for spells, such as level of the spell. Uh, what this pretty much means is it's the level of the spell, and some spells, if you look under the descriptions, will tell you that it's like, okay, this is a second level cleric spell, but a third level wizard spell. That means a cleric that can cast second level spells can cast that spell. A wizard slash sorcerer that can cast third level spells can also cast that spell. Because spells can sometimes be weird like that, so you have to be able to cast higher level spells from one class to cast it, but another class over here gets to cast it at a lower level. Components. These are also important because under certain circumstances, if you're denied the component, you can't cast a spell. For instance, verbal. This is V. This means it is a spoken incantation. You can try to whisper it, but 9 times out of 10, you're in a situation where if you're whispering it, why are you whispering it? If you are under the effect of silence or you are gagged in some way, pretty much unable to speak, you can't cast a spell. And most spells are verbal. Semantic, which is hand gestures. A lot of spells also have this. So if your hands are bound, broken, or some reason not able to move, because you have to have at least one free hand to actually do the semantic gestures, you can't cast a spell. So trying to hold too many things can automatically cancel the spell out. Like, I'm gonna hold my staff in one hand and have a meta magic rod in the other. Yeah, you can't cast spells because you don't have at least one hand free. Put one of those things away. Luckily, Bacon has never had to worry about me enforcing that particular thing on either of those two things because I never actually silenced him or gagged him or broken any of his hands or had to worry about him casting while his hands are full because he went, I can't do that because I'm like, he self-policed himself in that way.
I have a tendency to skip component spells. Not that they're bad spells, but given that the fact that most of them have components that are extremely niche, I try to avoid them, especially early game.
Yeah, because material.
I recommend avoiding a lot of the material spells early game are extremely hard to get, especially if you have one that you need a 200 gold diamond.
Yeah.
Suck my toe.
Some of you
Okay.
may be thinking, well, if I take extreme materials, that covers materials costing equal to or less than one gold piece. And before you, well, there's no there is a list of how much each material thing costs. So there's some items that cost like multiple gold pieces, but they're also not consumed. So when it comes to material components, taking as few materials as early as possible helps out with a lot, because a lot of the spells that consume the material are relatively cheap. The items that aren't relatively cheap, you're not consuming unless it specifically says it's consumed. Like True Resurrection, you need 20 grand worth of diamond dust. That you're going to have to go get those diamond dust to get it. Identify, you need a gem worth 100 gold pieces. So it's like, so there's a few things that is consumed per casting, but at the same time, if you focus on things that are either A, Assume Materials works on, or B, you're not stressing those spells, then you're going to go far, kid.
Now, I will say, especially in early game, if you are having a lot of problems with your team that has a really big problem staying alive, Lux here can most definitely tell you the name of the spell. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I had to use it. It is a material component spell. It is the only one I really kept in my repertoire, and it was for a very simple reason. My party died a lot. Usually at night while we were on watch. So, the only material spell I kept from early game to late game, is a spell that it cost me 2 copper pieces in salt. And it allowed me to preserve the body of my party member without any. Yes, thank you, Gentle Repose. I couldn't think of the name of. I knew it was Repose. I couldn't think of the name of it. Fantastic spell for early game for any of you magic users who have party members who tend to, throw themselves into danger and or get assassinated by giant bugs in the middle of the night. I would recommend Gentle Repose as one of the material component spells that you pick up early game. Like I said, one of the few that I ever picked up and used it all the way into late game, because no matter what part of the game you're in, somebody's bound to, hit 0 and negative a little bit. But there's no time limit to how long it will keep the preservation going. But it will also prevent your teammate from, not having a body to come back to if you try to resurrect them.
With the exception of True Resurrection spells have a time limit between when they can resurrect a person from when they died. Gentle Repose, for as long as the spell is working on the subject, it prolongs that period. Like Raise Dead is like a day per caster level. Resurrection can go a little bit longer than that, but at the same time, you can be weeks or more from where you can get the person resurrected. So keeping the body in a condition so that way you don't show up with a rotting corpse that can't be resurrected because it's a rotting corpse, Gentle Repose does that. And if anyone goes, you're wasting a spell slot, you can look at them and go, when you die and bitch that we didn't resurrect you, I'm gonna look at you and go, it's almost like I had a spell that could have made that possible, but someone said it sucked and was useless.
That's why, for all my magic users out there, just remember, as much as you can be offensive, you can also be the backbone of the team with support. It doesn't need to be healing. You could be that support. Material component spells do have their uses. Please don't take my bad misliking of them as anything. It's just personal preference. Huh?
Your phobia?
Yes, it's a phobia of having to get things. And not only that, if you have one of the spells that does consume it, well, okay, granted, yeah, I brought my teammate back. Now I'm out 20 grand in diamond dust. And for me, that was a big problem because I was usually very poor during our campaign.
Yeah. The next thing are focus, which is F. These are props that, unlike material components, it's not consumed. So right there, it already sets a slight difference between consumed materials and permanent. So like the miniature cloak that's needed for several spells, or a small mirror. Those are focuses. Therefore, they're not consumed. There is no guessing if it's consumed or not because it's listed as a focus. And same thing for divine focuses. Those particular components are more for divine spells, but at the same time, they're not consumed with it unless it specifically states otherwise. The last tidbit there is XP cost. Yes, there are spells that drain you of your XP. Now, don't get
Are
complacent
vicious.
with those spells because you can deficit yourself with them. If you go, well, I'm level 18, I can burn a bunch to cast a bunch of wishes for the party. Well, you look at the DMD. What do you mean I can no longer cast ninth level spells? It's like, well, you know how you cast this many wishes? Yeah. Well, there's an XP drain, and I should have enough XP. It's like you you ate through so much XP, you no longer have enough to maintain your level.
You ate through so much XP, you owe me XP.
You're now in a deficit, which being in a deficit means you technically don't get access to that level of stuff. As a spellcaster, losing that level, or that effective level, means you can go from I can cast 9th level spells to now I can only cast 8th level as my highest level spell because I lost that much XP. You get you lose 5 hit points and you get a -1 to all die rolls. That means anytime you attack, -1. Anytime you roll a saving throw, -1. Anytime you roll a skill, skill check, -1. And that deficit can get worse if you get tendency to do things to drain XP. And depending on what XP spell you're trying to do, depends on how much XP it actually eats. It's like item creation also sucks XP. When I said I've played in a game where the player not only used Wish a few times, but then went through the process of creating a bunch of items, and then the DM okayed it, and then the DM spent like 2 hours going through all the math because the player refused to do it for how much XP he lost. And when he went, okay, yes, I can't let you commit because this is the order you did the items. This item and this item and this item, I can't let you create. Why? Well, because if I calculated correctly and several people verified, when you reach this point here, you've lost enough XP to be in this deficit, which means you can't cast the spells needed for this. What was that that thing? He went from 19th level to 14th because he created a lot of things that had a lot of XP cost on it. Therefore, he humped himself because he burnt through XP completely thinking that it wasn't going to actually do anything. Because a lot of people think that once you hit a level, you can never go below that level, no matter what.
I was stuck at level 2 for like 6 months.
Well, that's because you had something that gave you a +8 level adjustment.
Yes,
It's
no,
a
but
different
still,
type
my
of,
point.
but still
It is a
deficit.
different. It is a different type,
Um,
but It is still a deficit.
that was a deficit of the the template did that to you, not you actually lost levels. It's just Here's to hoping you survive long enough to have this deficit removed. But XP cost
And
is one of those things that, regardless of what you're doing, I don't recommend it unless you have a lot of XP and or the DM is letting you do something to where you have a reserve that limits what you can and cannot do with XP. Because a lot of DMs do that, to where it's like, okay, all XP you get is going to go to this reserve until you have enough to level up, but this is going to be your reserve for those item creations. Uh, that being said, I don't recommend doing those spells because they can eat you up. Uh, but that is going to do it for today's episode. This we hit our hour limit by a minute. So to quick
mm,
recap, unless you can afford it, be careful about what spells you prep because they may cost something you can't really afford. If you're high enough level to cast spells with XP cost, be careful with them because you can bone yourself. And trying not to accidentally counter your spells by having too much stuff in your hand. Willingly having your, not willingly, but like being bound and stuff like that. So unless you're trying to get the meta magic feat Still Spell and Silent Spell, avoid those situations because you can instantaneously regret it because you can't cast your spells. Uh, but I would like to thank you all for watching. Remember to like and
yep.
subscribe, and we'll see you next week when we discuss more spells. Dun dun dun.